Hi, everybody, and welcome into Devil's Debate with Fabian. I'm Dominic Catronio. A lot to get to today on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Not much football news, but the draft is ever approaching. It's so close you can practically taste it. There are a few Sun Devils to really get involved. Can you believe that ASU is actually the last Pac-12 team to have a first-round pick since, I think, 2003 with Terrell Suggs?
Wow.
That's kind of amazing.
I mean, that turned out well.
It did turn out well.
But
everyone imagines this could be the year that streak ends with Jalen Strong. And we'll jump right into it here. Is Jalen Strong a first-round draft pick?
I believe so. I think he's a first-round talent. I think that some of the other wide receivers that you hear in that mix, hear Kevin White, you hear Green Beckham in there. I think Green Beckham needs to be in that second-round range just because he didn't play at all last year. I know people are saying he's an athletic freak, but I wouldn't trust that if I was an NFL GM. Kevin White, I agree that he's in that first-round range. I wouldn't necessarily put him as far ahead of Strong as many people have him. I think the three lock first-round wide receivers are Amari Cooper, Kevin White, and Jalen Strong. I think all three of those guys are going to have great years next year.
The projections, I disagree. I don't think Jalen Strong is a first-round guy, but he will be. I think because this first round is so not very deep, everything is crammed up at the top of the quarterbacks and everything. And everybody knows about Amari Cooper. Also, don't forget about Perriman as well from UCF. I think that just kind of by default, there have to be 32 picks in the first round, so Strong is going to be one of them. I think if he's in the draft last year or maybe even next year, I don't think he's a first-round talent. I just really don't. I think he's early second round, very early second round, where he could go to one of those teams. But some projections have him at the Dolphins as high at number 14, which I think is a little ludicrous.
I think 18 is that right spot. That's where the Chiefs pick, and I think that's a good fit for him, especially with Jeremy Maclin, that wide receiver set. I'm still strong with him being a first-round pick. I think he has the size, the physicality, and brings that to the position that's sort of been missing in the league. Granted, if you're a wide receiver, it doesn't really matter where you get picked. Remember, Odell Beckham Jr. last year's Offensive Rookie of the Year wasn't a first-round pick.
That's what I'm saying.
It's just the right situation, the right fit. I think Kansas City's a good fit, but I would like to see him go to a team that has a little bit more of a vertical offense because that fits his skill set really well. And then sort of on the other side of the ball, another guy who's been sort of skyrocketing and even reached the first round in Matt Miller's last mock draft, Demarius Randall. What do you think? He's a first-round pick?
Again, it's the same thing with Strong. I don't think in previous years or even in coming years he's a first-round talent, but because of the lack of really standout guys, he's going to be in the first round. I still think he's in the early second round. I really do believe that he will be in the second round. Not so much where I'm conceding Jalen Strong being in the first round. I really think Randall is a second-round pick. Yes, he's the number one free safety in a lot of big boards now, but it's a position that not many are have a guarantee. I need a free safety in the first round. That's something that he will be available in the second round.
Yeah, and I agree on that point. I also think that sort of, while I do agree that he deserved to have sort of been skyrocketed from that fourth round to where he is now, I think first round's a little bit too high for him. I think he doesn't really have the size for that position to be a first-round talent. Do I think he can be a good safety in the NFL? Yes. Do I think he gambles a bit too much sometimes? Yes. He has good ball skills, but he has some things still to learn at the next level. I don't think he's a starter next year. I think he's a guy who you draft sort of that second, third round spot, and then he sort of get him for depth, and then the next couple of years he'll develop into, I think, an above-average safety in the league, maybe even a Pro Bowler, but I don't think he's ready just yet.
If he is going to be taken in the first round, I hope my Cowboys take him. But next, another guy that has also been skyrocketing lately, and that's Marcus Hardison.
Hey, they like those Todd Graham guys.
They like the Todd Graham guys. Now, my question to you is, a lot of scouts put him as a three-tech guy. I mean, he's going to be a nose tackle, somebody up front.
Yeah.
But he's a former defensive end, and we've seen him here at ASU play on the outside. Where is his future in the NFL, and where is he drafted?
I think he's inside. Honestly, I think he'll be sort of that third, fourth round pick range. I think he's a guy who is athletically as good as anyone in this draft. Maybe not quite that freak Dante Fowler type, but still a solid interior defensive lineman. I think he's the guy who's going to be in the league for a lot of years to come. He's a guy who sort of a lot was expected of him when he first came in 2 years ago. Didn't really do well his junior year. His senior year sort of flipped switch and sort of took off. I think that's something that he'll ride that momentum to the next level. I think a team that's smart and that likes using those smart guys who are athletic, like the New England Patriots, are a good fit.
Took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, I was going to say the Patriots,
I think sort of one of those Patriots fits, maybe even a Seahawks fit. Who knows? They need sort of those interior defensive linemen to sort of bring pressure, but also stop on the run to sort of set up the rest of their defense.
Something about Dodge City Community College, man. I think they just pour out some talent out of that school.
Yeah, well, think about it. There's 2 JUCO guys we've already mentioned that are sort of coming out to this NFL draft. I think I have to know 3, if you include Strong. And now, sort of the last guy to round out this list, the guy who sort of a lot was expected of him coming into last year, sort of met those expectations, but we haven't heard too much of him coming into the draft. But I still think he'll be a guy who will sort of step up and be drafted, of course, on draft night. I was thinking Jamil Douglas, who played last year at left tackle. He's being projected as
a guard,
left guard, yes, the next level. I think, honestly, he has the size and athleticism to do it. I think so. I don't know how he'll adjust to playing that new position, and I don't know if he really has sort of that tenacity to play at the next level. I think he'll be a solid guard. I don't know where.
Well, he was a guard at ASU until he switched over to tackle. But I'm saying I think he's not going to be a left tackle in the NFL if he's going to play that position. I think he's going to play a right tackle, if anything, other than a guard. I think that he's a solid guard, especially on the left side, protecting that left side, as he did with Taylor Kelly all those years. But still, I think Douglas, the big thing that sticks out to me is that 1.83 10-yard split on his 40 time. You're not really looking at 40 times for offensive linemen, but you look at the 10-yard split. How fast can he get upfield and block? And that's going to be that's a very attractive number to a lot of scouts. That quick off the ball to get up the field, good acceleration from a big body of his coming from the left side.
Yeah, I think that boosts his draft stock, but I still only see him sort of in that 4th, 5th round range. I think he'll go to a team that sort of needs that depth on that offensive line. Maybe a team like the Arizona Cardinals that needs they've improved their offensive line this offseason and the year before, but sort of just to boost that sort of depth and have just another line of guy who is experienced and can sort of plug in that role if need be. I think he'll be a guy who could possibly be in the league for a couple of years.
Now, stepping away from football, we go to some big basketball news this past week, or past few weeks, really. Dominic Green, notably, not going to get a scholarship anymore.
No more Doms at ASU.
No more. I guess I can be the only one. There can only be one. Also, the big news today about Thon Maker still thinking about ASU.
He hasn't been their top 4, which is saying something. I mean, they sort of came out of nowhere, but you sort of linked that to the hire of Brian Merritt as the 3rd assistant to round up Bobby Hurley's system, just because he comes out of that John Lucas sort of factory. John Lucas is sort of a mentor for Thon Maker, and you bring in Brian Merritt, a guy who works closely with John Lucas and has a lot of AAU ties, and it's sort of not too surprising to see Thon Maker pop up for ASU. He'll be a guy who's going to be a second semester guy if he does come to the next level. I don't think he's going to look at Europe anymore, but I think he'll be a second semester guy, sort of like Savon Goodman was this year. But he's a guy who has been compared as like a 7-foot Kevin Durant. We'll see how it goes. How that hype goes.
Do they have a real shot at him though? I don't think they do.
I think it's a small shot, but it's still a shot. I don't really think it's too realistic that he comes here. I think Kentucky's is number 1 still. But I think I wouldn't be too shocked if he came here.
If I'm a 7-footer, I'm not coming to Arizona State. There hasn't been a 7-footer here since Baczynski, and you're going to be looked to block the ball. You're not going to be. Who knows what his offensive prowess would be? Because you mentioned he's a shooter. He's a Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this is an attractive place for him unless that he's been talked in his ear about, hey, we'll let you shoot the ball here or something like that.
Well, I mean, we'll still have to see how Bobby Hurley does as coach. We don't know what his style is going to be. He said he's going to move the ball a lot. It's going to be a fast-paced offense, which I think fits into what Maker wants to do. If you put Maker on the floor with a guy like Eric Jacobson, who has already proven he can be a decent rim protector, I think he can be fine with having him sort of be outside that stretch position, sort of stretch the floor, and that opens things up for people like Trey Holder to sort of drive and kick.
I guess that makes sense.
And now back into recruiting news. There's a notable recruit who was a local guy who announced this week he will be transferring to Findlay Prep, Marcus Howard, but he will still have a scholarship on the table, according to Bobby Hurley. Sort of, do you think it was right for Marcus Howard to leave Perry to go to Findlay Prep?
I think he's going to get more eyes on him. Yeah. It's good for him that he's going to get more eyes on him. Bad for ASU that he's going to get more eyes on him.
Yes, it's bad for his recruiting. I think also he, in high school, sort of got a sneak preview a little bit of what life would be like at ASU, where he's facing double, triple teams all the time.
And he's still scoring against them, though.
He is, but he's sort of starts to develop bad tendencies in your game. And when you're playing with a team like Findlay Prep, where you have all these guys who are just as talented as you are around you, sort of forces you to get better, to get to that level, but also gives you the space to sort of develop outside of trying to just break double teams or triple teams.
Well, I mean, he's too small to be a shooting guard. He's a point guard, but he chucks up the ball a bunch during the game, but still makes the shots. I still think that's okay to be a little selfish for him. He's like not a totally selfish Russell Westbrook, but he can still use his attention to kick the ball out or find it to his bigs down low, that kind of thing, if he's going to pull up and find it down low. I still think Howard, there's still a chance that he comes to ASU.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that Hurley communicated softly on the table, but again, the odds are low because it's not going to be a thing where now ASU, it's not ASU's best kept secret anymore. He's going to be known to everybody else now.
The big thing that was working for ASU is that they were the first team to offer him. They were the only team to offer him. And now he's going to Finley Prep, and he's picked up a couple offers just within days of moving to Finley Prep. I think that sort of is pushing ASU down in the running. Also, Marcus Howard, big pull for ASU was also that he loved Herb Sendek. Herb Sendek's no longer here. I don't know what his relationship will be like with Bobby Hurley, but we'll see how that develops and sort of how that progresses. I don't think the fit is there at this point. I think ASU would be much better served trying to go after a guy like Barcelo.
Now we move over to baseball. Probably one of the best closers in all of in college baseball. Is in a little bit of a slump right now. Ryan Burr. He has believe it's been tough to believe lately, but he's still got 7 wins, which is unheard of for a closer. That just shows how close these games are.
If you're 13-5 in one-run games, your closer's going to pick up a couple of wins.
And then 11 saves still leads the Pac-12 over everyday David Berg at UCLA. Is Ryan Burr okay? Is he going to be? Is there any question that he's going to be okay?
I think just the bringing up that point is a little bit ludicrous. I think he's fine. I think you still see he has 11 saves. He's still doing fine. He's still chucking it up there with high heat. I think if you throw it that fast, you'll have issues with that from time to time. You'll run into these slumps. But I think Tracy Smith believes this too, that there's nobody else he'd rather have in that situation than Ryan Burr, a guy who sometimes has issues getting leadoff guys on, but he mows guys down like nobody else.
He only has 3 1-2-3 innings this entire season. And I know closers, nobody's perfect, but only 3? You expect a little more from a guy that's dominant, closed, open, and shut like that.
Well, I mean, once he does get into that situation, he is dominant, closed, and shut like that. I think what really matters is he's getting used to pitching these tough, high-pressure situations. I think put him in that situation where you put him in a game where the base is loaded, 2-out, 1-run game, I trust him to get that strikeout more than anyone else on that bullpen.
I guess so. He does lead the team in strikeouts. He's got 57. He's on the Collegiate Baseball Writers' watch list for best stopper of the year. Still, it's a 2-man race between him and David Berg, really, for the Pac-12 title. And then for the rest of the nation, it will be interesting to see. But Burr's got plenty of work to do, on his slider especially.
Yeah, well, Burr had a blown save on Sunday, but ASU still picked up the win. They're 5-0 in extra innings this year, 13-5 in one-run games. What does it say to you that ASU keeps just sort of skating by, getting these series wins? They've won their first 6 Pac-12 series this year.
First time since 2009 they've started 6-0 in Pac-12 series wins. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night, they will be playing at U of A for a Territorial Cup point for a point. If they win this game, they win the point and they win the season series.
Yes.
If U of A wins both games at home, they win the series and they win the point. But there's only one game Wednesday and then next Tuesday. This team has plenty of work to do because they're through the easy part of their schedule.
Yep.
They've still got USC on the road to close out the season. They've got UCLA coming to Muni in 2 weeks, and they got Wazoo coming next weekend after Tennessee Tech this weekend. In all honesty, you should sweep Tennessee Tech, but we never know because this is ASU baseball. This is what happens with them when they face.
That's just college baseball, let alone ASU baseball.
But still,
crazy stuff happens in baseball.
Even last year, they swept Utah at home, but they could have swept USC. They could have swept Cal, and they couldn't do it. They swept Stanford this year. They should sweep Tennessee Tech. There's no reason they shouldn't. And we have to wait and see if there'll be a switch up in the rotation as well this week. Martinez has been struggling now in the Friday night role, and Lilac has been shining in the Sunday role.
Do you think
is it time for the
back up again?
Is it time for the flip-flop?
One thing's for sure, at least you got Kellogg out Saturday.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You're good with that.
That's no doubt.
I think it's sort of the luxury that Tracy Smith has, that you have 3 quality pitchers they can rely on. I don't know how much you gain really from swapping it up too much, just because it sort of messes with your pitcher psyche, messes with your routine. I think pitchers, especially starting pitchers.
Pitchers are weird, man.
Yeah, they like to stick to a routine. I think you stick with Martinez at this point. You already moved Lilac and Martinez once. You don't want to mix them up again.
I disagree. I put Lilac back on Friday nights. I think he's earned it again.
I think he has. I just think there's an added advantage for having an ace on Sundays as well.
But it's an added advantage to win your first 2 games. And then it takes a lot of pressure off of Martinez. Martinez, I think, he's a very good pitcher, don't get me wrong. He will be the Friday night guy next year, I think, almost no doubt. But still, I think it's time to put Lilich back in that Friday role. Give you 2 great chances to win just with your starting pitching. Martinez has been struggling a bit, and it might take a little bit of the pressure off of him.
I'd still give him one or 2 more starts to sort of try to work it out himself.
Well, 2 more starts is UCLA, and you're going up against James Caprillion. So it's got to be soon. It's got to be really soon.
Yeah, I'm still hesitant to make that move. I'm the sort of guy who doesn't want to rock the boat, especially with that pitching staff. You don't want to do that too much. I know Tracy Smith had sort of mixed around the lineup. Hitting's a little different than pitching, so I would be hesitant to make that move.
All right, now our last topic here. The hockey roster is out.
Hey, hockey!
And this is something that you reported about Liam Norris coming back for another year of eligibility. Can you enlighten us on that, and will it make a difference on this team in NCAA?
Well, if you have Liam Norris coming back, that will make an impact. But yes, people thought he was going to be done. People thought he was going to be graduated. I thought he and Faz Khan were the 2 seniors in last year's team. I thought they were going to be done. But he will be taking graduate classes next year, and the last year will be treated as sort of a redshirt year with the NCAA, so he will be granted a year of eligibility, and he'll get a chance to play next year. He won't get a chance to play with his brother because David Norris is redshirting, but it's a great opportunity for ASU hockey. Liam Norris is a guy who sort of took control of that team last year when Ryan Ostertag was done for the year, and sort of took most of the load, not only distributing but scoring goals. He led the team in points last year, and I fully expect him, with Brett Blomgren not making the NCAA roster, to be the captain of this team next year.
He should be. But now I want to make a comparison here, and maybe you'll agree with me on this. He's the Taylor Kelly of the hockey team, whereas he's been kind of like the leading captain. He's back for another year. He's ready to go. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt. But what I'm saying is that he's kind of the guy that he can generate things through his captaincy, leading by example, or by actually making a play on the ice. Kelly can throw a touchdown pass or just lead on the sideline. I think that's what Liam Norris is to this team on the hockey.
Well, yeah, you talked to people on the team about Liam Norris last year, and he's the guy who people love talking about. They couldn't stop talking about Liam Norris and the impact he's had on this hockey roster. He came in sort of alongside Coach Powers. Powers was there a little bit before Liam Norris, but he followed this rise. I think it's only fitting that he gets to be part of this first NCAA roster, which looks really good if you look at some of these recruits.
What about Mike Cummings, though? I'm surprised he made the roster.
I'm a little surprised at that. You look at guys sort of like who didn't make the roster, like Chris Blessing.
Right.
And you're a little bit surprised that Mike Cummings did, but Mike Cummings is a guy who, the second half of last year's season, sort of emerged and kept putting pucks in the back of the net.
Exactly.
Blessing was that guy in the first half of the season, but you saw that a little bit more from Mike Cummings. I don't know. We'll see how it works next year. I don't know how much sort of the returners are going to get a chance to play next year. I think they'll definitely get a significant amount of playing time, but it'll be interesting to see how the mix of the recruits and the old guys comes back. We won't be able to see the Norris lineup, Rivard lineup anymore, but we might get to see Norris and Rivard on the line again next year.
That'll be a lot of fun. That does it for us this week on Devils Debate with Fabian Ardaya. I'm Dominic Cotronio. Stay tuned here on DevilsDigest.com and ASUDevils.com for all of the news that you need as we start heading into the really boring, the long and ominous summer off-season.
You're still recruiting.
I know, but
we'll bring it to you.
It's tough. It's tough. It gets harder. It gets
does.
so much harder now. But
almost football season.
We're almost to Camp Tonto. We're almost there. All right. We'll see you guys soon.
See ya.
Thanks for watching.